Hello everybody, this is B. Harper from supermarcy.com and I would like to welcome you back to my book reviews. Now the book I'm going to be reviewing today is William Golding's Lord of the Flies. Now I remember reading Lord of the Flies in my English literature class alongside 1984 and Animal Farm. Now all three of these books are allegorical. That is to say that they are a study, a perception, an observation and possible prediction of society as it was and what would society become in the future. Now, Lord of the Flies was always a favourite of mine because it really does delve into the whole darkness of the human psyche in the most extreme of circumstances. So, going from the back of the book, I'm just going to give you a very basic synopsis of Lord of the Flies and we'll start the review. So, a plane crashes on a desert island. The only survivors are a group of schoolboys. At first, they revel in the freedom and celebrate the absence of grown-ups. Soon, though, as the boys' fragile sense of order begins to collapse, their fears start to take on a sinister, primitive significance. Suddenly, the world of cricket, homework, and adventure stories seems a long way away. The boys are faced with a more pressing reality: survival, and the appearance of a terrifying beast that haunts their dreams. Alright, so, where to start? So, the title of Lord of the Flies is more or less a very overt reference to the devil. Now, the devil, by common perception, is associated with the worst traits of human nature. The devil is more or less an avatar of all the horrible things that we as a species do, such as corruption, exploitation, decay, immorality, murder, savagery, just being the most primal self that you can be. Now, Sigmund Freud, in his psychoanalytic theory, also stated that the id has something to do with the devil. Well, not necessarily that, but the id is more or less what the devil stands for in a more cerebral form. So what the id is, it is essentially about me. Me. Like, the id is a self-serving survival mechanism. Alright, so what the id wants, it gets. And it doesn't care who is in its way, what relation they are to you, if they're friend or foe. If it wants something, it'll get it. And the id has been associated with the concept of survival. So in Lord of the Flies, when all these boys crash land down into a desert island, at first they're just really happy that there's no adults to answer to. You know, it's like the ultimate sleepover. I mean, I can't think of a time that I didn't fantasize about my parents not being in the house so I could do whatever I wanted. So what those boys is feeling is something that we have all felt. But as time goes on, and as their little micro-society begins to develop and evolve and then gradually devolve over the period of the book, we start to notice that the laws of humanity, or rather the laws of society, mean nothing when it comes down to, you know, life or death. If you are faced with a threat in a survival situation, there's very less of a chance that you're going to want to sit down and talk to your aggressor, okay? Because you will not survive. So you have to either fight or flight. Now, the fight or flight mechanism is a psychosomatic reaction to terror, to something that threatens you. So if you are faced with a gigantic dinosaur or something, you can either like put up your dukes or something and possibly get squashed, or you can run away and fight to live another day. In Lord of the Flies, it is quite obvious that Golding is saying, no matter who you are or what age you are for that matter, because like I said, all the protagonists in this book are schoolboys, like ranging from say, I don't know, 5 to 13, around about that age range. And yeah, at the end of the book, they are all hunting down another male character because they perceive him as a threat. They're just so like caught up in wanting to survive in this collective tribal madness. And it's really quite destructive and quite tragic when, at the end of the book, the fellow who's being chased finds himself on the beach and he finds a naval officer. Now, the naval officer was at the island to scout out an enemy location, but then he sees these bunch of boys, like sort of like half naked or less, and just like decked out in tribal paint and wielding like stick spears and that sort of thing, and he's disappointed in them. Like, he's disappointed like the way a father would be disappointed in a child. But the most ironic thing is that the naval officer, like, is part of World War II. Okay, he did not come to the island to save these kids. He came to the island to like get the drop on an enemy. So there really is no escape from the fact that we, as the human species, are violent. But in saying that, Golding is more or less condemning the function of violence, like the innate desire to do violence, by showing this how destructive it is in this book. Because at the end, it is total madness. It's chaos. And when you put into perspective that these main characters are children, people who are meant to be perceived as innocent and pure, really, they are no different to their adult counterparts. And that is tragic, and Golding is making a statement on that. When it comes to the laws of humanity, it's something that we impose upon ourselves and each other in order to stay alive, in order to function within a border of existence. Because if you took away all those rules and it was just down to you and your neighbour, okay, there is less likely a chance that you're going to ally yourself with them, especially if they pose as a threat to your well-being. It's a very sort of classic survival situation, and Lord of the Flies covers that. In terms of any other themes, I think it all comes down to how we perceive ourselves. I like to think that humanity is capable of wonderful things, and in an ideal situation, like if there was an apocalypse or something, like we'd be able to band together and try to stay alive and support each other. But knowing the way humans are, and especially in the current situation of the world right now, it is very natural to question our integrity as a species, especially when it comes to interacting with others. So yeah, Lord of the Flies is a depressing condemnation of human violence, but I don't think Golding is necessarily saying that this is how it is and this is how it's always going to be. To me, it's a cautionary, allegorical tale, and I really do hope that this story remains relevant. And it's been relevant since, like, say, 1954. So it's had quite a long run in terms of, you know, staying in popular culture and being studied and like dissected by sociologists. So I hope that Lord of the Flies remains as important as it is, and hopefully it helps future generations to decide on the natures of their behaviour. So yes, Lord of the Flies is a very good book, but very depressing and very, very dark, especially when you're faced with the fact that these are kids killing kids. So yes, William Golding's Lord of the Flies, to me, is a 5 out of 5. See you later.